Hello, this is Grana. How are you doing? I wanted to get to you before it was too much longer, but I'm not ready to do the part 2 on my after stroke acute phase, but I am ready to. I wanted to reiterate or go over that something that's very important that I'm not. After my stroke, I wanted to say that I'm not taking any drugs, prescription drugs, that have been recommended to me because, except for the following procedures. When I took the drugs when I wanted to take, and the reason why I want to tell you is because on my my living will, I had put down that I don't want any lifelong drugs, and that was a problem with the doctors, but because I added in there I didn't want any drugs or stents or anything in my body that would cause me to have to take lifelong drugs. I just want to take drugs when it's necessary. And my doctor put down I didn't want to take any drugs, but that's not true. And so I want to show that I took drugs for these procedures. When I had and this was after my stroke, when I had a left cataract surgery, that was November 2019. When I had a left carotid endarterectomy, that was February 2020. When I had the repair of my posterior vaginal after a hysterectomy, and a repair of my cystocele with the sling bladder, and a repair of the rectocele, it still needs some work done on it still. And I had that June or July of 2020. And I took a medicine when I had the MRI of my total spine on June 2022. And I took medicine that I needed for when I had kidney stones. It was July 2022. Now, the medicine I took for that was when I was in the hospital, but I didn't take what they wanted me to take when I got out of the hospital. I took some horsetail and some oat straw. That's what I wanted to take, and I passed it on my own after a while, but I was in the hospital for a short while. And that was in July 2022. And then I had right cataract surgery on August 2022. And then I had an antibiotic a couple times for prep, like when I had a cystoscopy, or they prevent infection afterwards. They give me an antibiotic a couple times. And so I have taken these drugs, but I don't want anything that is lifelong. And when I took the aspirin, when I was afraid, really most part, I was afraid if my blood wasn't thin enough that I needed to take the aspirin. But I learned afterwards, because I researched, that a lot of things in your regular diet thins your blood. So when I first had my stroke, I was taking cod liver oil, and that really, it thins out your blood, and they don't. I kept reading things that would say, well, if you're going to take this, you better check with your doctor because it thins your blood. If you don't want to take anything, they may have to adjust it or something. So I just kept thinking, well, if this already thins my blood, then I don't need to take these pills. So it reinforced that I wasn't wanting to take these lifelong medicines. And so I do like canned salmon and canned sardines and and because I took the fish oil or the cod liver oil for probably a good 5 or 6 months, and then I went to food because garlic and all kinds of stuff. It thins your blood, and you got to be careful. And I didn't want to have to. I work out here on the I call this my farm, but it's not really a big farm, but I call it my farm. But I couldn't afford to be going around falling down and be careful of when I get bruised and bleeding and everything. So I didn't want to take a blood thinner. So I just took an aspirin for about until I got through all these surgeries. That's what I done. And then I didn't, and I had to, tell the doctor why I wanted to. And the vascular doctor that I went to, he kept encouraging me to take the statin and the blood thinner, but I said that it would cause problems. I wouldn't be able to eat what I want to, because you're not even supposed to eat a grapefruit when you do this. And I guess he had to go look it up, another thing he had to look up was I said that I found a study that said that the difference between taking an aspirin a day and an aspirin and a blood thinner was not that much difference when they had the carotid endarterectomy. So he said, well, I know that person who done that study or something like that. And he went to go look at it. And when he come back, he just was really encouraging me. And I thought, well, I don't know what I said, but I said I would take one of them. And then afterwards I called him and I said, I can't take it. I just can't. It's just like I'd have to force myself to take it, because I just don't know. Before I had the stroke, I did not want to take any medicines that would be lifelong, because I want my body to take over and to take care of it. And when I had the carotid endarterectomy, I was in the hospital, and I really thought I was going to die, because my chest was beating so, and my heart rate went up so, and my blood pressure was really high, and I didn't think the nurses was going to get there in time, and then so I took medicine that time. But as far as lifelong, every day for the rest of my life, I can't take drugs like that. I just can't. It's just not in me to do that. I don't know why, but probably because my background and everything, and my insistence on my body can take care of itself in many situations, I think. But it's completely normal to allow my body to heal itself in the long term. That is why I don't want to take lifelong medicines. However, the doctors are tied up and must take to labeling patients as non-compliant, as if we, the patients, are bad if we do not do what they recommend. And recommend is the word. They recommend that you take these medicines. They don't, but they actually, it's a sort of a reverse psychology, where they're just trying to make it difficult for you to not take these medicines. And that's the part that I would like to see change. But they're the hospital. They got certain people that get beneficiaries, or whatever they call them. They invest in the hospital, and they got to get their money back. And I don't know all the ins and outs of that really, but I don't appreciate being made out to be the bad guy. And perhaps the doctors are just doing their jobs, but this is not the way to document and care for the patient. Especially, I learned firsthand, being a stroke patient, that I gotta reduce my stress. And that is stressful for a person like me that's educated, I've been a registered nurse. I mean, I started out as a nurse aide, and I worked my way up to be a registered nurse. Then I got a bachelor's in psychology, and then I got a master's of science in social gerontology. And so it's even more stressful that because I got all this education, and then I myself, I don't know how to say it, but I just I really am into overcoming all my fears. I mean, except for drowning. I don't know about that, but I'm not afraid of water, but I am afraid of drowning. But anyway, I don't want to be afraid to live life, and I don't want to take a pill for every time I'm afraid that something might be wrong with me. I want to figure out why and fix it. I've been a problem solver. I want to fix things, and I don't want to think that, well, I take this pill and it just takes care of everything. Yes, it takes care of everything. No, it doesn't. It'll make me dependent on the medicine for my problems, and that's not what I want. I want to take care of my problems, and my body is part of my soul, my mind, soul, and body, and it is helpful to me. And that is so anyway, when I had my fear, or I want to overcome my fears, one of my fears has been speaking in public. And because I think that people, when they see me, they would just know all of my bad things about me, But this having a stroke, it's really making me reach out and to talk more, because this is important stuff. People have to know that, well, I think that, I don't know, I want to be careful about how I word it, but it's just really fearful to be, if you want to give into the fear, it's really fearful to have a stroke and worry about all these things that you have to worry about, because you can't communicate, and you can't say what you need, and you can't demand that you want something, because you're not in a position to do that. And if your family doesn't support you, or they're not around you, they think that you need all this stuff that the doctors say you need. And if you're not having it, you're not doing what the doctors say, then they want to have you do it. And so it becomes where you feel like you're not free. And I'd like to get into more of that, but when I talked to the patient advocate that they gave me after I had talked, I said, I'm not non-compliant, and I don't have these diagnoses that you have given me, and but I couldn't talk very good, and so my doctor was leaving, and so they gave me a nurse, or a patient advocate, and in part of our discussions, we had like several that I went in and I said, well, here's this and here's that. She never worked, but she had told me that her father, or her father-in-law, he'd had a stroke, and he was not wanting to take the medicine, or he said, they're killing me, and but he tried not to take him, and she took it as that he had to take him. But I didn't argue with her. I didn't try to get into it, but that's an example of somebody that's in your family. They may think that you need this and that, but inside you don't. And so if you can't talk, you can't communicate, but you have your mind, even if you didn't have your mind, I guess it just feels really like you are being oppressed person. And then you become depressed. When you're oppressed, and you don't have any way out, you become depressed. And, well, anyway, I went in there. I mean, I'm getting kind of mixed up here, but I'll bring it back around. But when I went to the doctor that day that my doctor put non-compliant on my chart, well, I didn't only refuse to take the medicines that she recommended, but I had on their website, they said they recommend you wear a mask because it was that time that they were saying that you need to wear a mask, but it says recommend. It doesn't say you have to. And I tried to go in there without a mask on. I said, your website says you recommend. They said, no, you got to wear it. So I guess I was just testing them. I saw that they really do think that I have to wear it. They're not recommending it. They are telling you that you have to wear one. But I said, okay, so I wrote Rosa Parks on it. And that's what my mind came up that I could put on there to express myself, that I didn't think it was exactly right to be forcing people that would be scared. And that's what when you have a stroke, you need to overcome the fear of that everything is fearful to you because it's traumatic. It's a trauma, and it's just as traumatic as anything that out there that they say is, like a war, being in a war, or any kind of thing that causes you to be feared. You have to overcome it. So anyway, when I felt like the mask covered up my face, and I didn't agree with they was having even children wear it. I thought, well, the parents have to wear it when they have a baby, and I thought it's just cruel because the child learns from the facial recognition. They learn about the human communication and the body and everything from because we don't only communicate with our words. Communication is the facial expression, and this part of the face is very important to communicate. And they covered it up when the babies were born, and I just thought that was wrong. It does, it's just wrong. Even though there is infection going on and stuff like that, it's just wrong to force people to wear it, or else there'll be some kind of consequence. It's not going to be a consequence, but it's just they've tried to enforce the rules however they're going to enforce them. And so I wrote Rosa Parks on my mask, and I wore it around in the waiting room, in the room that I was in, and they had a student doctor come in at first and talk to me, and then the doctor. But when I was going, I thought I first would go, but I would take, because I didn't think they had my blood pressure right, and I was saying that I have high blood pressure only when I'm at the doctor's, because when I take it at home, it's not high, except for sometimes when I've had inflammation or something going on in my body. And I was I didn't want to have my blood pressure taken until I talked to the doctor. But that became a problem too. They kept adding up, but the whole thing was a miscommunication. Because the doctor, in the beginning because I said I went for 2.5 years where she didn't label me of that, and she was very nice to me. And when I needed to be seen by I had to have the urologist see me, the female the gynecologist, and I needed to get my vascular system in order. So I saw the neurologist and the vascular doctor down in Springfield, and when I had some trouble with my bill, she covered me on that, and she wrote it. But I had to go fax it myself. But she wrote a letter for me because the hospital said I needed a letter from my primary doctor that said that something that would cause it to not be on my bill. And she was very nice. And then it seemed like when she was leaving that, I don't know, but she just changed. And so anyway, I just had and then I thought, well, I couldn't talk very well, so I went to a lawyer to get medical advice to get how to convey that the notes that was written about me weren't correct. And he just was short and sweet. He just said, she doesn't do this, she doesn't want this, she doesn't want that. And it didn't work, So it was too stressful for me to fight against a big hospital, a big pharmaceutical company, or a empire. I can't. I had a stroke. I was recovering from the stroke, and I'm still recovering. It's been 5.5 years, over 5.5 years since I've had my stroke. And then I had a car accident before that, and I've always been recovering, but I have not always had what happens to me when I go to the doctor now. Because when I went to the neurologist, he said, if you're not going to take these medicines, don't be coming back here. And so I didn't. But when I first went in, he scared me half to death. He just yelled at me, and he said, my God, your blood pressure is so high. Well, I didn't know it was high but I was having a lot of problems. And this is a new place. It was a big hospital. I had to walk into it and be pushed around. My son was with me, and I didn't have my gut fixed, and there was all kinds of inflammation going on inside my gut. And my blood pressure would be up in that situation, but there's no need to be yelling at me and telling me that I need to be on this medicine, and that's the first time anybody said anything about my high blood pressure. But then the doctor just picked up, my doctor here just picked up on it, and she just thought, you need to be on this. And nobody ever investigated why I have high blood pressure. And when I'm at home here, all these years, I've taken my blood pressure, and the only time it's up is when I get riled up about what they're telling me, or if I have something active going on in me. So it's just terrible. And I could get into all the reasons why a mask didn't. It slows down the spread of germs, but it does not prevent the spread of germs. And the question is not the slowing down of it, is if it's going to be if they're spread at all, and they will spread. It doesn't matter if you slow it down, because the only people I guess for the hospital, it's important because they don't want to have a bunch of people coming in at once. And that's the only reason I could think that, because it slows down the spread of germs or the virus or whatever, but it doesn't prevent the spread of germs or viruses. So they didn't want to have a whole bunch of people all at once, I guess, is what I came up with. But anyway, I wonder if I got this done, but I would try to get to the next one, part 2 on when I was waiting for the home health care to finally show up here. It was a mix-up between that hospital down in Springfield and the hospital here, and that's a story in itself. So thank you, And I hope you do something today to make yourself happy and to make yourself healthy. And we'll see you. I love you. Bye-bye.